papers. You won't see that in the newspapers. You won't see that on our purchasing portal because that's an opportunity under $17,500. So how did I find these individuals? They're registered with us. They're in our database. They submitted a quote, and shortly we're going to launch a tutorial for you that will be posted on our website, ecbizcenter.com, that will walk you through the contents of a bid package. A bid package for goods and services, as well as for supplies. So that's what we're doing. We also have what's called a request for qualifications process. When we're looking for professionals who are attorneys or accountants, we build a slate, particularly for attorneys. Why? Because we will select from those individuals who are qualified, willing, and able to produce for us those who may be interested in working on our outside matters. I'm going to say more throughout the course of this presentation, but I don't want to spend a lot of time right now doing that because I'm going to be piping up about my pet peeves. My pet peeves that come out of my experience reviewing the course. But beyond that, some of the issues that I see with our small women and minority business owners who don't really present to us winning proposals. But before I do that, I have a couple other announcements to make for you. If you're here for the first time, the restrooms are in the back to the left of the women's room. We're going to ask you to put your phones on vibrate if you absolutely must get a critical call. You're not going to want any interruptions in this program. We have some other experts in the room. I want to introduce some of my counterparts. First of all, Dominic Belfiore, United States Small Business Make sure you meet him. My colleague, Ike Jenkins, who is the county's risk manager. Stand up, Ike. Why do you care about the fact that Ike is here? Ike developed the insurance language for the request for proposals. So if you don't get it, he's the guy you want to talk to. We've been building on that. We'll talk about that later. Okay? And John Sanchez is here from our Essex County Latino Chamber of Commerce. John, just raise your hand. To get to know. I want to make another announcement about a workshop that's coming up in July. May I see by a show of hands how many of you have heard of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program? Okay. We're going to, how many have gone through it? May I see by a show of hands? Just one. Guess what? We need to increase that number. And how do we do that? The County of Essex has invited Goldman Sachs to come in and present a seminar for everybody. You know those stringent requirements they have about 4 employees or more and whatever revenues and gone. We have said to them, you may not impose stringent requirements on our business owners simply to come in and describe a program. So I'm going to say, you need to do this in order to grow your business. Put down this date. We have flyers at the table. Monday, July 16th from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. The only requirement to attend is that you be a owner or co-owner of a business. That's it. I expect to see everybody in this room there. Everybody. You don't get Goldman Sachs information for free otherwise. I can tell you, I used to work with them. I know that. They don't give anything away for free. Come in. We don't charge for workshops, but registration is required. So that's an important piece of information for you. If you're here for the first time and you don't have a packet of materials about the Essex County Office of Small Business Administration, Small Business Development, make sure you pick up that packet before you leave. That's absolutely critical. So, as I said, I will be chiming in from time to time with my pet peeves with respect to the request for proposal process. But right now, I want to introduce you to our guest speaker. Thereafter, we'll have a panel discussion. So, Kate Marwick, my colleague, is the director of the Essex County Division of Cultural and Historic Affairs. Kate, under her leadership, the division has expanded its local grant program to award nearly 50 micro grants annually to support arts organizations and programs throughout Essex, and initiated a history grant program with support from the New Jersey Historical Commission in 2011. Ms. Marwick founded the Arts and History Liaison Program, pairing members of the Art and History Advisory Board with grant recipients, creating a mentor-mentee program in recognition of its continued presentation of high-quality programs and services. The division was recognized by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts as major presenting and service organization in 2012 and 2013, putting Essex County first, I might add. In 2012, Ms. Harwick was elected president of the Association of New Jersey's County Cultural and Historic Agencies. In this role, she represents the needs and concerns of the county cultural and historic agencies throughout the state of New Jersey. She was most recently elected to serve as a trustee for the New Jersey History Advocates. With a certificate in nonprofit management, Ms. Harwick has been called to serve as county liaison to numerous boards, including the Essex County Presley Memorial Irish Gardens, Kitts Castle Conservancy, etc. She graduated cum laude from Mount Holyoke College with a degree in art history and holds a master's degree in art history and museum studies from Case Western Reserve University. She knows what she's talking about. She knows what she wants. I have to digress just for a moment. Many of you who already know me know that I love the Shark Tank, but there's a program that I love just as much. American Ninja Warriors. And I'll tell you why. I watched it last night and I thought they have the very same. Did anybody else in here watch it? Here's why I watch it. The qualities that they possess are qualities that successful business owners have to have. Initiative, drive, hard work, passion, focus, but most important, execution. Because if you have all of that and you don't execute, guess what? You fall off the trapeze. You have to be able to execute. So I say to people when they come to our workshop, I don't care about all the rest of this. Can you execute? Can you get the job done? Can you deliver? Because if you can't deliver, you won't work for Essex County. Kate's here to talk to you about how to deliver. Welcome, Kate Harwick.
Good morning. So you're catching me coming right off a conference in Chicago called Americans for the Arts. How many of you have heard of it? Okay. So Americans for the Arts is the national organization advocating on behalf of the arts to the United States government, and it is the only conference that has people from my industry working in cultural affairs together in one location. So you get to hear from cultural affairs from New York City, LA, Chicago, and all these people. And one of the things that we talked about is creative industries. So creative industries sometimes get left off the map when we talk about the arts because they're not orchestras or they're not choruses, right? But how many of you consider yourself artists in the industries that you're working in? Okay. And how many of you consider yourself business owners? Okay. And how many of you have been in business for 1 year and you're just starting out? This is your first kind of pitch. Okay, less than 5 years, less than 10 years, more than 10 years. Oh, so there's a pretty good mix of people. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is actually, Deborah talks a lot about my grant program and things that we do in the community. One of the other hats I wear is that our Division of Cultural Affairs is part of the Parks and Recreation Division of Cultural and Historic Affairs. And in that role, I help develop all of the marketing materials that we use to publicize our zoo, our complex, the park system, my concerts, festivals, the whole litany of events that we put together. And so I'm going to go through the actual RFP that we put out on the street, what we're looking for and how that's laid out, and then the process that we use to evaluate them when we get responses back. Because there are some really simple ways to make sure you get through that process in a positive way, and there are some really easy mistakes and pet peeves, as Deborah mentioned, that I have when we get those responses back. So this, as I mentioned, creative industries. They're art-centric businesses involved in the creation and distribution of the arts. So that's architects, marketing, advertising, performance, and not just performers, but agents who book performances. That's also a creative industry. And I'll talk a little bit about that because there's another RFP we use to address that. It's anything that has this creative side where we can't just say it's 10 cars and that we're taking the bottom price. That there's a professional element to it, something that can't be quantified, and it has to be evaluated using a rubric. Nationally, there's over 700,000 creative industries across the country. And so we'll just stop here. This is the first page of our graphic arts bid, and this presentation will be available on Deborah's website at the conclusion. You can see here in the first green line, the intent of these specs for the Essex County Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs is to provide an outline and express the minimum requirements for qualified vendors. It's important that I say that this is expressing the minimum. We're always looking for people above this minimum. But you would have to meet these minimum requirements for us to really score you in a positive way as we go through the rubric. And so it's a response to the request for graphic arts, video, and design. This is last year's proposal. Next year's will, of course, be a little bit different because every year we're refining our proposal based on the marketing needs that we have for the entire department. The department changes, we add things, we learn as we go about things that don't work for us, and we make adjustments to the proposal annually. The following criteria outlines the elements and format to be included in the submission of the technical proposal by which your firm or team will be evaluated. This is like the paper you should give me. And this is where the pet peeve is right here, okay? Number 2, color samples of your team's work, including written graphics and brochures. Do not send me black and white photocopies. We're in a creative industry. If you can't pay attention to that level of detail and you don't take pride in your work enough that you want to send me the best samples of what you do, then I do not have confidence that you will put your best effort and your best work out there for me. Okay? That's very clear. Pretty much as soon as I see that, somebody sees that black and white, I know. I don't even score the proposal. I know they're not going to make it. So, explain clearly and comprehensively how your organization understands the goals and objectives of this project. This is tell me what I told you. I laid it out for you, everything that I want as you go through these pages. Now tell me back what I said. That shows me that you understood what I'm asking for. Because if we get to this paragraph and you're kind of off the mark, then you didn't really get what I was saying. And when you had the opportunity to ask questions and clarify, you didn't take it. And that doesn't speak well to me in my doing business with you, because if you didn't ask questions on this process, that means you might not ask questions of me when I ask for something, and that means you're going to spend time working on something that doesn't deliver the results that I want. And when we're managing these contracts, we are managing your hours and your time, so we stay under our budget as well. Qualification of your team or key personnel. Okay, don't just give me their names and say they're wonderful to work with. Okay? I want to know their resume, how many years have they been with you, how many years were they with another firm, how many clients have they had, how many projects have they had, how many dollars have they spent, what's the size of the campaigns that they've worked on. I'm talking about small campaigns. A lot of people come into small business because they've had a previous career with somebody. Lay that up. I mean, that counts as years of experience when it comes to this kind of work. I want to know that you worked with Johnson & Johnson, and you worked with Pfizer, and I want to know that you worked with government, or you worked with another park system, maybe in a different capacity, but that you understand the needs that we're going to have in reaching out to the community. Referrals. A lot of people leave these off or just give us a list. So just a list of businesses with no contact information. How am I supposed to confirm, talk to them, see how you did? You got to give us an email, a phone number, a name so we can reach out to them. Here. There is a desire for participation by disadvantaged business enterprises, minority business enterprises, and small business enterprises. But you have to document it. Okay, so you have to have those certificates, you have to send us the backup documentation so we know that you are what you say you are. Okay? You can't just say, I am a small business. Okay? You have to prove it in paper. Okay? Next page. Okay, so this goes into more general information. This first section is about us. That's a really tiny paragraph. I hope you're going to our website to learn more. I mean, that's going to be very critical, right? Anytime you are applying and responding to one of these, you're going to go above and beyond what's here in this paper. We have a new website. It was done through an RFP process. There's a lot of information there, and certainly if you Google us, you'll see where we have advertised, what those advertisements have looked like, what kinds of listings we've done, what kind of coverage we've done. A lot of that is a result of marketing materials and things getting out to the community, and that's important to us. That's kind of a ripple effect for us. Our needs. This kind of lays out who you should be. A creative graphic arts and design firm is needed to help develop promotional materials to maintain the of the historic Essex County Park System and its programs in a consistent, communicative manner. Some projects are anticipated. That means we know what they'll be. However, this contract will also be used for unforeseen needs. What does that mean? It means whatever comes up, we're going to be calling this person to help us figure it out. And as you all know, we're writing this 18 months before a year, 6 to 9 months before we're going to start that contract. What we think is going to happen doesn't necessarily reflect what will happen during the course of the year. We do the best we can to project, but we always leave room for things that will come up. The firm provides. This is what you are going to be expected to do. The graphic arts and design firm will provide personnel, equipment, and services for every project. The scope of services required includes writing copy, developing layout, handling copyright issues, providing stock imagery upon request, providing on-site support at installations and photo sessions, providing proactive recommendations, working in non-print formats such as banners, vehicle wraps, videography, and web formats, and acting as a liaison to third-party vendors. That's a pretty tall order. So what do you do if you can't do all of those? Then you've got to partner up, right? Subcontract out. Find somebody else who can meet some of those needs. Because if you can't meet all of those provisions, you're not going to work for us. In the sense that you're not going to be able to accomplish everything that we need. Okay? So making alliances in some of these areas that maybe you don't have the expertise in, but other people do, is a great way to get in.
I just want to add something to that. Hi everybody, my name is Lauren Shears. I'm a Public Information Officer for the county. I'll be speaking with you later, but I'm also one of the people that reviewed some of these RFPs. And just in relation to what she just said, I reviewed a lot of RFPs for creative services where it's just exactly what she said. Your company is not proficient in those things, and you're going to be using other companies. If you say I'm going to be using ABC Company, we don't know ABC Company. You applied for the RFP, not ABC Company. So all that stuff that you included about your employees, please include that about those people too, because we're putting our money and faith in you that you're going to get the job done, but you're telling us that I'm not going to do it. A, B, and C is going to do it, but we don't know A, B, and C. So make sure you include the information about them as well.
Yes.
Just one quick question. When we're partnering like this, and I do some work in the federal space, and oftentimes as a small business prime, you can bring in larger businesses to help support those areas. With what you're looking for, is it typically small business only with all the prime and the subs? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
They tend to be all small businesses.
Okay, so when you're partnering, you're looking for small across the board?
We are.
Okay.
And this is a small contract, relatively, so most of the bigger businesses would be interested in subcontracting down to that level.
Got it.
I'm just going to ask that you hold your questions for a bit because we do have a panel discussion and you'll be able to raise all of these questions at that time. We're really pressed for time. Thanks.
So this is the list of anticipated projects. The newsletter is something we do every year. It always comes in here. And this gives kind of an outline of the different types of materials and the programs. So when you're researching an RFP like this and you get this list, you can Google Cherry Blossom Festival and look at what did their design look like, what kinds of materials do they have, how were they promoting the last year, the last 2 years, the last 5 years. With the internet, everything is out there for us to find. It didn't used to always be like that, but now that it is, it's a resource to definitely use when you're going through this process. So these are our expectations. Our administrative expectations, how you're going to work with us, who you're going to work with, when we expect you to start work on a project, when we would expect you to stop work on a project, advisement, what kinds of recommendations we're looking for from you, and artwork, including, how many rounds of edits is included in this proposal. What kinds of things we might need in terms of photographs, retouching, purchasing royalties if they apply, handling copyright issues, providing both a print-ready and a web-ready file for us so we can go on web and be printed. And this is very important. I mentioned questions. If you have questions, even though this comes from the Parks Department, the questions do not come to us. They go to the Office of Purchasing. And the reason for that is if you have a question, chances are other people have a question. Purchasing will take those questions. There we go. Purchasing will take those questions and share them with the entire pool of responders so that it creates an equal playing field for everybody. If you have a question, it's better to ask and get the answer than to guess. It helps everybody out, and it's good for us too, because then we know how to revise our proposals moving forward. And if we see the same questions coming from people, then we know our proposal wasn't clear, and we'll need to go back and draft that for next year. Okay, this is I think the final page, and this is where you start laying out your costs. This is how our RFP for this is organized. Each of the projects is listed that we anticipate, the quantity of designs that we're going to need over the course of 12 months. So in the case of the newsletter, it's 4 issues. So you would take your per issue price, let's just say it's $1,000, it wouldn't be, but it is for today. It costs you $1,000 each time you design the 24-page newsletter. So you're going to take $1,000, multiply it times 4, because we're doing it 4 times a year, and you get $4,000 for your cost. I don't know why it became like this. And then the last at the bottom is an hourly rate. And that's for that unanticipated projects. We had that list of anticipated things. We're going to be billed hourly for anything we didn't anticipate over the course of a year. And that hourly rate is going to go here. Okay? All right, next page. Okay, so who's reviewing this proposal? It's not me. I work too closely with whoever wins the proposal to really be a fair judge of the proposals that come in. Therefore, I don't review them. It goes to other people in the department. 3 people review. They all work within the Parks Department and have projects listed, or are an outside person like Lauren over Public Information, or or somebody who handles communicating information out to the public on behalf of the county. And changes are made annually. So I don't use the same 3 people every year. So nobody gets used to reviewing this proposal. It rotates around the department. One year Lauren might do it, the next year Anthony might do it. So there's no way for us to get comfortable with what's in the proposal or who the vendors are. Next. This is the sheet we use when we're reviewing. In previous years I have reviewed before I moved into this capacity. It says the name of the company, who's reviewing it. Every reviewer has to identify themselves. Then they give scores. Okay? They're rated based on skill and creativity, resources and capability, cost, location, and they get a score based on minorities, female, small business participation. 30%, 30%, 20, 10, 10. Every reviewer is going to give the company a score between 1 and 5 based on a rubric that I'll show you next. That number is then multiplied times the weight. So if they get a 5 times 30 is 150. That's their total points in that category. If they get a 1, because they're located in Florida, multiply it times 10, they get 10 points in that category. Total up all the points, and that's the organization's score by that reviewer. Okay? It's a little math lesson. Next. And this is the guide that every reviewer gets. So it lays out for them what a company has to do to achieve a 5, a 4, 3, a 2, or 1. So there is no guesswork between those committee members. They all have the same rubric to follow as they're scoring. So this is a past one that we've used. This might not have been last year's, it could have been a couple years ago. So it's skill and creativity. To score 5. The portfolio includes a complete marketing campaign with communication products ranging from a logo to a trade show booth exhibition while incorporating image branding. That's why it has to be in color, right? Because how can we really tell any other way? The next one, the portfolio includes relevant communication products to the county park system. So maybe you weren't full service, but everything that we're going to use in our needs was represented in the portfolio. 3, the portfolio does not have a broad range of products, but staff excels at design and composition. Okay, so this might be a younger firm, but the talent looks like it's there, but maybe they don't have as much experience covering everything. The portfolio doesn't have a broad range, and the designs are not appealing. They just didn't like it, right? Or there wasn't a lot there. They were maybe young. The portfolio is limited. That's probably that black and white one, right? And there's no portfolio. That happens. Sometimes you just don't get one. Like they missed that one. 0, and it's 30%. Probably didn't score very well. Okay. Resources and capability. This has to do with how many employees you have, what their experience is, how many clients you've served. Okay. That's also 30%. So that's 60% right there of your proposal. Next. Thank you. Okay. 20%. This is cost. Cost is a big factor, but we don't want it to be a limiting factor when we get into the creative services. We really want skill and administrative background to be the driving force, and that's reflected in those percentages. But cost is still 20%. You're recommended. You're recommended by government organizations and individuals, right? You worked for all 3 sectors. So we know you can work with anybody. You're recommended by organization and individuals, owned by individuals. You're not recommended. You didn't include any referrals. Nobody likes to work with you. I hope that's not true. Or you just didn't provide any. You missed that. Boom, 0. No. Location. 5 points. You're right here in Essex County. We're always putting Essex County first. You get the 5 points. You're in a county that borders Essex County, so we're supporting our North Jersey region, you get 4 points. And then we move down into farther and farther away. Then they mentioned that Florida firm in the lower. Next. And last, your firm is owned by either a minority or a woman. Like I said, it's an older one. That means it's documented, though. I mean, there's proof that you're owned by that. You didn't just stick somebody's name on there or send us a model's picture to try to prove to us that you are who you are. And then the rest, you have minorities and women on your staff, even though you're not owned by one. That does count. We do count that. But again, it has to be documented. It can be pretty obvious to us. And if you didn't provide any information about your employees or your staff, then you don't get credit for that. Okay? I think that might be the last time. So that goes through our process. And I did bring with me a sample of our most recent publication. This is something Iris Communications did for us. It just hot off the presses. It arrived last week. Our summer concert series. This is a folded postcard that goes out in the mail and goes out to all of our facilities. And Iris Communications was the winner of last year's bid. And we're going to hear from her later, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but we are enjoying working with her.
Let's give Kate her hand. Writing down your questions, because we're coming up to the portion of the program where you'll be able to ask them. And guess what? We're not taking a break. No. We have restrooms. If you need one, go ahead. But I'm going to ask Barbara Bochis of Iris Communications, the winner of this contract, to come forward. Barbara, give her a hand, please. A little bit about Barbara. I have a personal anecdote, and then I'm going to call up Lauren and ask Lauren. She is our public information officer to take a seat as well. She's going to be on our panel. I love this story about Barbara. Barbara and I met, I think, at another event. She'll tell you specifically because I can't recall where we met, but I do remember the first meeting that we had, the formal meeting in my office. Barbara told me that she'd been in corporate America for several years, a couple of decades as it were. She had left corporate America and she just started her business. This was about 3 years ago. So remember, she's a startup, quote unquote. But what she has done since then is remarkable. First of all, she studied the client. I talked to you this morning about execution. She studied the client. She didn't just say, okay, I know they have a website. She took a look at it and she said, you know, I do things a little differently. Really? She looked at our website and said, I do things a little differently. Let me tell you what I do. One-on-one conversation about the county's needs. Know your client. When you come to see me, if you haven't seen our website, guess what? I'm thinking you can't really be interested in this client. But we'll get to some other aspects of what makes a winning proposal as I pose these questions. Let me tell you a little bit about Barbara. She's Managing Director of Iris Communications located in Verona, New Jersey, a former Senior Operations and Client Services Marketing Executive. Barbara's 20-plus years of marketing and advertising experience includes President of Talk Marketing, a consumer sampling and promotions company specializing in word of mouth to direct consumer programs, Senior Vice President of Operations at Health Ed, and Account Director and Vice President of Operations at Ogilvy Common Health Worldwide, a WPP company. Barbara's passion is building strong client relationships and developing dynamic interactive programs and creative, what? I love this word, Barbara, deliverables. It's in the execution. Deliverables for her clients. Give her another round of applause. Lauren, I hope I can do this. Lauren is going to talk about our IT contracts as well as photography. But I consider her my personal IT person at the county. Here's the good and sort of not so good news. The county doesn't have an IT department. But what does that mean? There's opportunity. Yeah. We have to procure the services. And more often than not, when we do so, who's looking at those proposals or helping to put them together? Lauren. You want to know Lauren. So Lauren has been the Public Information Officer for the County of Essex since 2006, working directly with County Executive Joseph N. DiVincenzo Jr. to promote Essex County as the #1 destination to live, work, and play. Well, I'm going to make this here. Through various mediums, print, radio, TV, and social media. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in Communication with a Journalism PR concentration and in Sociology from William Patterson University and an Executive Master of Public Administration from Rutgers University. She was inducted into Lambda Pi Eta, Alpha Kappa Delta, and Pi Alpha Alpha, the National Honor Societies for Communication, Sociology, and Public Affairs and Administration, respectively. She's an active alumna, and she was recently appointed to serve as a board member of the Dean's Advisory Board for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. She's a 2011 inductee. Right on, I did what I did. Anyway, there's a scholarship in her name. Lauren has a Master's of Public Affairs and Administration at Rutgers University. I teach in that school, and I think she's one of our absolute exemplary graduates. Give Lauren a big round of applause. So we have it all. The people who created the RFPs, people who have reviewed them. So have I. I'll be chiming in. Winner of the proposal, and now let's hear from them, and then we'll hear from you. Before we do so, I want to recognize a few people who have come in recently. President of the Essex County Board of Children Freeholders, Brittany Timberlake. Give her a hand. Brittany will be speaking to you a little later on. Freeholder, Patricia Siebold, has joined us as well. I'll say it again. Our elected officials support this initiative. They care about this initiative. They want to see you get contracts. Let's talk about how you go about doing so. You know, I tell my staff, I don't go to events where I don't learn anything. I don't have time. I don't go to events where there aren't deliverables. We're here to give you the deliverables. So, let's start with the questions. You have a mic between you, you'll pass them down. So Kate has talked a little bit about this, but I think you can hear this again from our panel of experts, and I'd like each of them to take a turn answering this question. What are the most important factors to keep in mind when responding to an RFP? Give me 3, each of you, please.
Okay, I guess I'll start. What I said when I stood up before, if you're working with other people,
Mike.
Okay, if you're working with other people, make sure you tell us about who those other people are, because we're giving you the contract, not all these people that you say are going to do the work. Make sure you read it, all the stuff that Kate said, that's very important. We get a lot of stuff where it's like, did you read the first page? Not even something that was buried on page 30, but you need to remember the basic stuff. So read, and make sure you include exactly what we asked for. Not what you think we would like to see or need to see. Make sure you include exactly what we asked for. Because sometimes people respond, you're good, but you sent us everything else, not what we asked for. So some of those categories, you get zeros because you didn't do what we asked you to do.
So I'm going to look at all my peers, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background before I tell you what I think is important. Whenever I look at an RFP, the very first thing I make sure is that I can do the work, that I have the experience to do the work. Because the last thing I want to do to any client, and I think all small businesses, we have passion. We're entrepreneurs. In my case, I was a little older, getting a little grayer, and in advertising, one day I was working and another day I wasn't. So I will tell you, I was literally on my knees, and I think there's probably a lot of people in this room who had to make some choices and career changes. So when I started my company, with great passion and great vision, but I also have experience in the business I started. I didn't decide that I was going to be a baker because I can't cook. I'm an advertising and marketing executive. I have a degree in accounting and a minor in business administration. I spent 25 years in advertising. So for me, advertising, starting in a communications company, I had always thought I would do it. And when I was at a crossroads where I had to make a choice, I did it. But I do it because I am passionate and honest and very good at what I do. And if I can't do it, I partner. And you hear it back and forth about finding good partners. So if there's anybody in the room that's a really good PR person, come find me. If there's anybody in the room that's really good at event planning, come and find me, because I partner all the time. And I'm going to pay it forward because I've been very lucky.
Barbara, I love that. Now give me 3 factors.
3 factors. Know what you're doing, do it well, read, listen, and effectively communicate back. Writing a proposal is not easy. If you can't do it, hire a writer or get help. Because if you can't put it on paper, you're not going to deliver. And someone's not going to hear it from you.
Definitely read it. That's the biggest one. Research. Read it and research it. And just build yourself a checklist so that you have your own little cheat sheet to go through and check off yourself that you've got everything. I mean, when you start reading it, find that scope of work. That's what the person is out there looking for. But there's all those other little details that you do have to include. So build yourself a checklist that you can check off as you go.
You know, I told you I was going to share my pet peeves. Well, I read the proposals for this complex. Let me underscore that. The county executive had a vision. He said, I want a restaurant, I want a miniature golf course, I want a lake, I want boats. Complex. What I recall reading from several small business owners, I could tell, and I'll tell you why a little bit later, was one in particular said, I know you want to create a complex, but let me tell you how to build a restaurant. We know what we want. Don't redesign our vision. We know what we want. Respond accordingly. Guess where that proposal's going? In the circular, well, not really in the circular file, but it's not going to win. It's not going to win. So, ladies, I want to ask you yet another question about the detail. The detail. And before you respond to the level of detail that you look for in a proposal, I'm going to share another pet peeve. I think Lauren touched upon it. Who are the primary contributors to the project? Don't give us a one-line description. I can tell you that the winning proposals that I've seen, and I'm talking specifically about this complex now, included bios, firm profile, company profile, some even had photos. If you give us 2 lines, What do we know about your level of expertise? What level of detail, and Lauren, I'm going to ask you directly because I want to hear a little bit about our IT RFPs, and tell us what you would like to share on that note.
Okay, as far as the website and email maintenance and things like that, some of that stuff is very technical, as well as the creative side as far as design. So for something like that, it's very important to be detailed, because it's not just you telling us all the computer equipment and servers and things like that. That's great. But then if we're looking for you to design and maintain, we need to know your level of expertise to do the entire job. So if that goes back to reading, but if the RFP is for design and maintenance, for example, make sure you give us a lot of detailed information, but the same level across the board, because if it comes back and you get a lot of detail on your design side, but you don't really talk about how you're going to maintain it for us, we don't necessarily know that you're the proper vendor for us. You could be excellent, but you didn't articulate that properly to us. So it goes back to reading, but I think it's very important to include the technical aspect as well as any other creative part as well. And when we read it, it's better to have more, include links to websites that you've done for other governments, other companies, different styles of websites you may have done, and different things like that. Not just, I work for this company, that company, whatever. We don't have time to sit there and Google every company to try to find their website. Maybe that wasn't the one you designed, things like that. We've had people that go as far as to give us the links, they give us CDs with videos they've done and all that kind of stuff. And that's, we get to see what you actually do live and in living color, in motion, things like that. We can see your expertise, that you use the most relevant software and things like that. So I think for those things, it's definitely more important to be more detailed across the board, because it's not just you're going to be writing for us. It's content management, managing emails and things like that, design of a website, things like that. So I think the devil is in the details, so give us all of that.
Okay.
My proposals can be anywhere from 18 to 35 pages. My average is probably a 30-page proposal. I believe that because in the business that I'm in, which is creative services, the best way for you to know who we are is to see what we do and how we do it. So I always include samples of my work, and I always include literally physical samples of the work at the back of the proposal.
You guys heard the color.
Yes, I do. But I think it's really important when you talk about how big it should be. It depends on what they're asking. I keep, as Kate said, a checklist. I go through the proposal, and as I write my proposal, I have it sectioned off, and I make sure that I check off everything they've asked for. I've in some way responded to it in my proposal. And I don't think size is the comprehensive, the quality of what you're putting down on your paper in your proposal is the most important thing. And I'll say it again, if you have any doubt that you cannot service and provide the best quality work, don't go into an RFP. In my background as an executive in advertising, we used to say there's loss leaders in business. And sometimes you take business because you want to get to know the client. But when you work with the government, there is none of that. You had better be able to deliver what you promise you're going to deliver. And nothing's worse than in a small business is going in and then not making enough money to pay to do the work. So you got to be very careful about how you budget. I'm not always the cheapest. I budget fairly and honestly, and I know how much it costs me to do my work. And if I don't get a proposal because I'm too expensive, sometimes that's okay. I would not have been able to deliver it.
Let me make a point about that before Kate responds. When the workshop began, I said to you that the bid process results in a contract going to the lowest, most responsive, and responsible bidder. In the RFP process, it's cost and other factors. Underscore other factors. Which means what? There's subjectivity. That's why you want to pay attention to level of detail. I also have one more anecdote to share before Kate speaks. I was reviewing proposals for dining services at the county. Put them away, it was a winner. Maybe a month or so later, I got a call, minority business owner. Ms. Collins, there's discrimination in the process. I said, really? What happened? You're not going to believe it. I had the perfect proposal. I know it was terrific. I sat down with the then former county administrator to go over that proposal. And guess what? There was no menu in it. Yeah, that's discrimination. We're discriminating against those who don't read, who do not follow directions. If you're going to have a dining service at the county, we need to know what you're going to offer. Don't call me with those kinds of questions. Thank you. Hey,
I'd say always err on the side of more detail, but don't bury it in a paragraph. Bullet points, pictures, and just try to show variety. In the creative sector, try to show variety. So like I tend to say, like, hopefully you don't have one style and that's the only style you show. Okay, you want to show that you've worked with multiple clients and in multiple styles, so that if we don't like one of them, we would like the other three. And that lets us know that you'll respond to our requests for drafts and edits and rounds and changes that we want to make.
Thank you, Kate. I'm getting to what I know a lot of you have been waiting for, and that's price. Our office published an RFP. I've got someone build our website. Thank you, Barbie, you did a great job. Some of the proposals that came in, cost and other factors, price and other factors. Yeah, $500,000. No. We're government. I don't have a budget that's that large. I get it that the price is the price, but you need to do some research. So talk about how much to charge for requested services. How do we get there? Lauren has a comment about this. How much should you charge if it's a governmental contract? Before you answer, I want to recognize Patricia Foltz, who works for Hudson County's Office of Small Business Development. She's shy. Just saw her yesterday. She felt me tired. We were all day on our feet. Go ahead, Lauren.
As far as cost, you guys are the experts in the industry. You know how much it costs for you to deliver whatever it is that you deliver. But you've heard from all of us that you need to read, right? Yes?
Yes.
You hear it? Okay. So if you get the RFP and it says we need X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be for $50,000, please do not send the RFP saying that you would do all of that for $100,000. That's a zero. First thing first is read. If we give you the price that we're going to do it for, if you can't do it for that price for whatever reason, don't bother replying to the RFP because you're not going to get it, because we're giving you the answer to the question. We have $50,000 to do this. But if you don't get it like that, then I would say whatever your cost is to do business, just like she says, she may not be the lowest every time, but you're fair. Don't try to get us by making it very cheap, and then you have to come back and say, I need more money to do this and more money to do that. Or don't make it too high trying to get over it, because that's going to work against you as well. So whatever your field is, you know what it costs for you to do business, but don't exaggerate either way, because that can come back to bite you later. But if we tell you how much it is, if you can't stay within it, for whatever reason, don't waste your time or our time putting the proposal together, because that's the #1 thing. We flip right to the back. And if you said you'll do X, Y, and Z, you lay it out, $100 an hour to do this, do that, all of that stuff, and it comes out to more than what we said we're going to pay for it, that's the automatic zero right there.
I think price is something that as a small business owner, if you're new in your business, is really, it's hard, isn't it, to try to figure out what to charge. A lot of times RFPs will give you, as we've talked here, they'll give you a price for the contract. But there are times in some of these contracts where they don't give you a price. You have to price out each item, and then you have to give them a total. Talk to other people. Actually, there have been times when within a proposal I haven't really understood a lot that's in there. I will actually call the procurement person on the RFP, and there are times when you can ask questions. Now, the questions you ask can go into an addendum, and then other people who are in that RFP process have the right to see the answers to your questions.
They are published.
They're published. So there's an opportunity when you're not really sure about what you're doing to ask a question. And sometimes you can't get the answer, but a lot of times the procurement personnel, the person that's listed on the RFP, will be more than happy to give you the answers that they can. But I will encourage you to price honestly and fairly. And I don't think undercutting is the right way, because it's going to come back and truly it will hurt you.
I just want to correct one thing that Barbara said. If you have a question about the RFP or any of our bids, those questions go to the county's purchasing agent. The purchasing agent will respond in writing. The answer will be available to all other bidders and proposers as well. Okay.
I'll just say every business has its own bottom line that it has to meet, so you can't price yourself so low that you put yourself out of business, because that wouldn't work for you. But when we get double-digit proposals back, we get 12, 13, when we line all those costs up, it's very easy to see which firms are in that middle and what the sweet spot was for the things that we were asking, and to see who fell too far below and who went way too high. So talking to your colleagues is probably a great piece of advice when you get that proposal.
I want to bring Ike in on this. I'll tell you, recently, I think I mentioned to you that we're putting together a tutorial on the contents of a bid package. And recently, Ike Jenkins, who's our risk manager, sat in with me, the county administrator, the chief of staff, a bunch of other very senior people to talk about insurance requirements. Because I recall on several occasions getting questions from some of our small business owners, one in particular who created who actually chose and helped us select the books that are in the bid center. She called and said, I don't have $5 million in liability insurance. Could you say a thing or two about insurance requirements? I'm counting.
Thank you very much. Again, Ike Jenkins, risk manager for the County of Essex.
It's just the speaker.
Is it? Okay. Is that better?
It's the battery. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, with regard to the issue, the question that you had asked and mentioned about the insurance language, one of the things that we did recently is to go.
Hi, I'm Cheryl McCants, principal and founder of Impact Consulting Enterprises. We do public relations work, so I want to connect with you. My question is, when it comes to pricing, certain governmental entities have websites where you can look at previous awards and see what the contract and dollar value of that was. Is that information available online yet, Chris?
Yes. Two things. You want to register through the Essex County Purchasing Portal because we list all of our previous contracts for an entire year. You can look it up. It's public information. We're a public entity. You can get to that website from rsecbizcenter.com. That's the easiest way to go. There's a link. There's a hyperlink from our website to the purchasing portal. You can go on and get that information. It's available to the public. Question? Holly Kaplansky, give her a hand. New head of the North Essex Chamber of Commerce. Congratulations, Holly. Bender with the County of Essex. Minuteman Press. Did your advertising?
Thank you. Actually, I have a question about Project Creep. Okay, so when you start a project, you've got the specs, everything looks great, you bid on the specs, and then you're getting more versions than you anticipated. The person you're dealing with is somewhat, lower on the totem pole, so they're going back and forth to their boss. And little by little, the project starts to become bigger than what the bid really encompassed. How do you handle that situation?
I don't do that.
In creative services, let's be honest about it, the creative process is one that is not as defined as a manufacturing process that you can, so I'm an operations executive, so I get what project management is all about. So in terms of what I do personally, and I would say this for every small business, you have to have a certain amount of project management acumen. You've got to know when you're getting into scope creep. To me, conversation is really important. We have status reports that come out in our busiest time. Kate gets one Monday morning, where I am in every project. I mean, I treat my county work like I would treat my other work, because I work with Johnson & Johnson, I work with other big companies. So I don't treat it any differently. Scope creep is part of the business, and that's a conversation, and I know with all of our contracts, there's additional per hour costs. But again, legitimately, you can't go back to any client at the end of a project and say, oh, by the way, it went 40 hours more and you now owe me X amount of dollars. That requires a lot of project management. So I would say to everyone in the room, make sure you, again, we keep saying, you have to communicate, you have to make sure you understand what the and you have to make sure you have assumptions in any project you do. When Kate comes to me and says, we're going to do an event poster, we talk about what it's going to look like, one page, you know, is it going to be, is it a mailer, is it a poster, is it 11.5 by 17, is it a, you've got to get all your project assumptions up front, or you can't really judge what scope creep really looks like, can you? Like into that, a newsletter is, and I'll just finish, we've got very specific 14 to 16 pages, 24 pages for the magazine. So there's a lot of, I won't start a project unless we've got the assumptions in place.
Thank you for that. And Holly, I just want to respond to that. Take a look at that banner in the back. That's a banner that our office had created for us. I don't think this thing is on. Anyway, and I said specifically, when I put out the request for quotes, I don't like content-rich banners. In other words, don't put a whole bunch of words on the thing. Nobody's going to read all that. I like photos. I like diversity. It can't be content-rich. I want to see 3 drafts. And you say back to me, okay, I'll give you the 3. And here's a quote on the 3. And then you ask your client to sign off on the, I'm just giving you a tip. Ask the client to sign off on the version that they like. But you have to be clear. I had this conversation last night, in fact, with Mr. Cates. I think it was. He's standing in the back. I said to individuals, look, don't go off and run and do the work until you know the client's demands. Be specific. Say back to me what you think I said. No content rich. That's my nice way of saying you got way too much verbiage in that thing. Way too. I don't want it content rich. Hear the client. I'm not the expert, but I know what I like. Right? Question? In the back.
Yes, I'm Mary.
Stand up so we can tell us who you are.
I'm Marion Finney.
Okay.
I'm Marion Finney. I'm president of Mutu LLC. We're a facilities maintenance management company. What I would like to know, when you bid on a project and you submit your RFP, so at times I request a copy of the previous contract or the previous bid for that specific job. Just like I just had a bid out for Essex County Vocational Schools. And I requested the RFP for that, for the previous contract, which was 3 years ago. Sometimes you can't get that, although it's a matter of public record. Why?
Actually, you can get that. In government, we have something called OPRA, the Open Public Records Act. You can get it. We have an OPRA officer. You have to write a written request into that OPRA officer, and I'll give you that information later. In fact, he sits on Mike's floor. His name is Mike Venezia.
Oh, okay.
So you can get it.
I noticed that I submitted an OPRA request for Essex County Correctional. They just did a bid out for the county, and I never received anything back.
Speak to me offline.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions about content? Yes. I'm sorry, this gentleman in the back had one. Yes.
Hi, my name is Tom Collins. I provide insurance services if anyone needs it. I'm a local Essex County broker. Something that wasn't mentioned yet, which I think should be shared with you as well, is that in my business, being a small enterprise, I do employee benefits. I partner with the county, as a district county, and with my size firm, I have had the need to partner with a major firm, which is available to any minority enterprise as well. My information, my limit is this, which is very relevant. I met all the RFP requirements. I've gone in front of the Children's Board. I was elected as a minority partner with this major firm for insurance services. However, when the contract came up for renewal and mentioned cost, in order to meet the cost, what the major firm said was that they had to cut out the minority broker in order to meet the cost of the county. So As a result, even though the majority corporation has the contracts billed, I would cut it out simply because the freeholders or whomever were not notified at renewal time that there was no longer minority participation. My question is, who or how can I address that?
Two things. First of all, I think we want to take that issue to the county administrator. The county administrator signs all contracts. The county administrator funnels those questions to the appropriate persons who will respond to it. So county administrator is Ralph J. Chiolella, who speaks to me offline. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, the back
I'm Marcy Sukavicki. I'm the instructor for the SBA Emerging Leaders Program.
All right, emerging leaders people. And Marty, thank you for referring people to our office as well.
And I'm also the instructor for the Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative Program at Rutgers University. And I work for Jolima and Associates, a strategic management consulting firm. And my question to you, Deborah, is can you give me your Twitter handling number? Because we're tweeting this event and I don't have
I appreciate your tweeting this event. Lauren can tell you I can never remember my Twitter address. I don't know, but you can give our information for our Facebook page. Put it on Facebook, Lauren.
For Facebook, you can tag the county executive at Essex County Executive Joseph N. Jr. or just his name. And also on Twitter, it's Josie Essex County.
Thank you, Lauren.
He's on Instagram also, so if you're on Instagram too, you can tag him in that.
Thank you so much. If the paper's in the folder, I can never remember that. Dominic, I'll come to you in a moment. This gentleman's been waiting patiently.
Yeah, just two quick ones. Mike Battistella, president of Solutions Cube IT consulting company. So two questions. One is I noticed on the ranking, if you didn't have an office, a physical office to visit, it was a 0. With today's technology, a lot of companies are going virtual. We're a virtual company. I've got people all over the country. We don't have a... We can't hear you. You can't hear? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can't hear you.
So, Mike Battistella with Solutions Cube, can you hear that?
Yeah.
No, it's not. Okay, that's good. I am a harmonica player, so I will pull it out if we don't get anywhere. So the question was, I noticed in the ranking that if you didn't have a virtual office, it was a 0 as far as the scoring. And in today's technology, a lot is cloud-based, and a lot of companies are virtual. I've got folks up and down the East Coast, and we're all virtual. So how does that, why would that be held against us in a scenario like that? And you don't have to go into much depth, but I just said something I noticed.
That was an older guide. It's not the one we used last year. I don't know that we've had anybody come in and state that they were a virtual or a home-based business. So I don't think that that's come up before in the review process, but it's a great point and probably something we should look at for future years. I should probably pull out last year to see if we had it.
I just want to say I'm proud to be an Essex County small business because I only employ Essex County people, and so all the funds that come from Essex County get returned back to Essex County. So the virtual mindset where you can hire people all over kind of defeats, to me, the purpose of a small business staying in our community. So I think that it perhaps might, if you were to think about applying for a county contract, perhaps hire people who are in the county, virtual or not, and make that commitment to the county.
Right.
I need to speak to that and just say that that's not a county viewpoint. Our relevant marketplace is Essex and 11 adjacent counties. So even if you're not an Essex County resident, you by law can still bid on a county contract. We don't have a preference program. But I thank you for that, Bob.
Yeah, and I thank you as well. We are pretty specialized, so it's hard to find these resources. Lauren, a question for you. Talking about the content that you're looking for. In responding to RFPs, often it's address just what's being asked for, price just what's being asked for. But a lot of times in the high-tech area, there's a lot of information that's missing, or the experts that are responding have additional information that we know that if we just go with what's being asked for and we just price what's being asked for, we're not going to have a solution at the end that works. So we're often in that scenario of, do we stick with the letter of the law, or do we go with the enhancements or the recommendations? And there's that balance of, if I price what's really needed, I price myself out of the ballgame. So maybe just give me a little bit of your perspective on what's the best way to handle or address that.
Well, I think part of that can be addressed with, like, if you have a question and you can respond to the purchasing office about that, because if we put something together, obviously we say what we want, and we try to speak to people before we put the proposal together, but we're not the experts in IT or in whatever we're requesting, so we might have missed something or might not have done it properly. So if you're the company trying to respond and you see that that's an issue, I would suggest that you respond to the purchasing department, whoever is on the RFP, to do that. And then, because if we did something wrong, then we can take it back and put it out again properly so that it includes all the stuff that would be needed to get the end result that we need.
Right.
But also, as far as putting additional information in, I've read some proposals that they did not respond to what we wanted, but they gave us all their recommendations of what we should do. It wasn't a matter of price, but they didn't respond to what we want. So I would say, as far as the balance, don't just forget about everything we said and put what you think we should. If it's a price issue, I think, go directly to the purchasing department. Mm-hmm. But we're open to reading the recommendations or solutions, but don't just not respond to what we said. But if it's something that we don't really know what we need, and you're the expert in the field, I would direct that to purchasing, and then the answers can go to everybody as mentioned, but also if we have written it wrong, we can take it back and publish it again, which we have done a number of times, so that we don't give a contract to you for $50,000 and end up having to pay $100,000, because everything we needed wasn't in what we asked for.
Right, and a lot of times it's not something's wrong, it's just maybe something's missing. And without that missing piece, the overall solution is under what your expectation of it would be. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.
Sure, Dominic Belfiore with the Small Business Administration. You all mentioned that small businesses, minority-owned, veteran-owned, women-owned small businesses should be able to certify that they are truly owned by living individuals. As a government guy, I know there's an alphabet soup of certifications out there. Can you share which certifications Essex County recognizes?
So when I started my small business, before I even put my shingle up, I went to see the Double Vinces over in Paramus at the SBA in college, Bergen County. And I'll say Vince Vaccaro was my initial mentor before Deborah. And he actually guided me to Deborah to get more help. But what we did is I went through my small business certification through the state. I have my women-owned WBE certification. I am currently going for my WeBank certification because we had to be in business for 3 years, and so I'm right ready to get my WeBank. So I've started that process. I also have my CAGE number, my DUNS number. I'm in the federal contracting. I can go on site there. I've done as much as I can, but I didn't do it on my own. I had to go and get help because to navigate through that feels like you are climbing up a mountain you're never going to get up. So if I could do it, though, I think everybody in this room can do it. And then, of course, I went to Deborah, and I did. How many times did I spoke to you going, what next? Where do I go? I have ideas, and I did say, I think your website could be better and all. I was very sure of myself in terms of my professional business. But from certification, I would say if you haven't done any of that, you better do it right away.
Let me tell you what the county recognizes. The county recognizes certifications as follows. Disadvantaged business enterprise programs in New York and New Jersey, Port Authority have a unified system, as you already know. We recognize the Savvy database at the state's level. State certifications. Obviously, DOT regulates New Jersey Transit. We recognize WeBank, Minority Supply Development Council. Bottom line, whatever you have that proves gone through the level of due diligence to ensure us that you are who you say you are? If you're a minority, you own 51% of the business. Woman, 51% of the business. That's why we have shareholder information available. We need to know that. So I don't care if you only have one, but it better be the one that indicates that you've gone through the level of due diligence that ensures that you are who you say you are, because we have an Inspector General and he will find out. All right. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Crystal Jones, and I'm the operations manager of USA Live. So we have an interest in applying to some of the RFPs, but because of live broadcasting, we do it on the internet in high definition, so it's just like watching television, not that webcam shaky look. So we would like to be able to apply to some of the RFPs, but it's such a new industry that no RFP is requesting that. Our particular interest would be, Kate, I would speak to you directly regarding this, the zoo. We have something called thepetchannel.org, and it's specifically featuring pets, and maybe use it to toward education and community development, so that the community has more information about events and things that are taking place at the zoo. But if an RFP is never written for that, how can we apply for something like that?
So at the beginning of the program, Deborah mentioned low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
So something that isn't in that RFP proposal probably falls under that 17.5 and outside the scope of that work. So you will never see a proposal that comes out specific to that area. So then you have to really do some work, and like you said, you identify the zoo, you got to call them, or you got to call Deborah and say, are there opportunities like this? Who would be the person to contact? And then you basically have to kind of make a pitch that they should include it in their budget to do something like that.
That's a great answer, Kate. In fact, I love this, and she's not here today, but a woman came to see me and said, I created a video for your website, meaning the ecbizcenter.com website. I said, really? With what content? She said, I took your annual report. Now, you know I was listening, because who, you're reading my annual report? Get out. And you're not a freeholder? Wow. She read my annual report. She took the information in it, and she created a video. And she played it for me on her iPad. She got a $5,000 contract from my office. I was blown away. We did a little tweaking, because we have to have the county execs pick it. We have to have this, we have to have that. So we have some things that must be on but that's where the initiative comes in. For those opportunities under 17.5, and first of all, how many of you were at open house at the Turtleback Zoo in June? Oh, you missed it, and I'll tell you what you missed. Not the animals, they're lovely. Not the landscaping, that's nice too. But once a year, our 22 departments, constitutionals, and statutory authorities send directors and employees to the open house. You want to meet them? You meet them there. You can talk to them and say, I've got a great idea. I've never seen an RFP for it. You want to do that. Or you can call me, because I do this, and I've done it to Ike, and say, I have a great idea. I want you to listen. I'll pick up the phone and say, Ike, what are you doing? Too often. Can you come downstairs? Here's a person with a great idea. I will call my counterparts and say, I'm sitting here with so-and-so. I think it's a great idea. Maybe you can't come right now, but I have something I want to give you for that opportunity under 17.5. But you have to take the initiative. We don't know because we're not in your field. So you want to do that. To take a couple of other questions. I had a couple of hands. Yes, this gentleman's been waiting so patiently, so let's get it to you.
It's okay, I'm loud enough. Everybody can hear.
It's on.
I'm Ashok Dohale. I worked for Essex County Parks Department for 10 years before. And now I have my company. And I wanted to ask, I think you partially answered me, how to get on your 17,500 list. And I think the answer you gave me is call you.
Did I say that? So here's how you get on that list. I want to talk about that because many of you are on that list. Yes, you should call me, and I do encourage you to do that, but don't just call me and come in and say, I've had someone do this. So I heard you speak, I loved it, let's just kick it. Excuse me? Excuse me? Do I look like the kind of person who sits around kicking it? What you want to do is make sure that you register 2 ways. Seriously. And I was serious. 2 ways. First of all, our office maintains a database of small, woman-owned, minority, LGBT, and veteran-owned businesses. That's our database. We compile it through the registration process that we own. It's a 1-pager, come on. It's in that folder that you received upon entering it. So when the sheriff's office calls me, as they've done, and said, we need somebody in computer recycling, I say, Jessica Valle, raise your hand, compliance coordinator. Run me a list of computer cycling individuals from our database. That's who I'm giving them. And I send them a list, and they then go out for quotes from that list. So you want to be listed 2 places. On our purchasing portal, but for the opportunities under 17.5, we need you in our database. That's why we have 2. That's why there's a hyperlink from the purchasing portal to our website and vice versa. Does that answer your question? You can come see me, but it's even more important for you to get registered. John Sanchez, yes.
Yes, very short. I just like to, a couple of questions of what you need for small business certification. The Chamber of Commerce is putting together an event. It's going to be in August, and it's called the 6 Steps of Legitimizing Your Business. And I bet out of those 6 steps, there are many of you that are missing 1. So if you want to attend this event, leave your business card, and I will give you the exact date and place. Most likely it's going to be held at NJIT. But I believe Charlie is in August 29, there you go. August 29 at NJIT. It's a day event, and we're going to have SBA will be there, hopefully, and we're going to have a couple of other agencies there. Okay, thank you.
John, let me just say something to that point. Here's another reason why you want to get certified. When I appear before the Board of Chosen Freeholders, and our president's going to come up shortly, and they say to me, how many minority business owners do you have? You have to self-identify. I won't know. And it matters greatly to us because guess what? When I go to the county administrator and say, I need another $25,000 because I want to run an OSHA program, he's going to say, what for? I don't see anybody around. He comes to these events so he can see that you're interested. You have to support these events. I know you're out there, but you have to show us you're out there. Where are the small business owners? Are you registered as such? Self-identify, not just for my... Yes, I'm looking at my counterpart in Hudson County. Self-identify because your numbers matter. We're still the only county that produces a quarterly report showing our numbers, whatever they are, good, bad, and different. We show those numbers and we publish them. Self-identify, certify, so that we know who you are. Is there another hand? Gentleman in the back.
Sonny Kucherla, self-identifying myself as
Good.
Director of
All right.
BDC and partner in a boutique digital strategy company, helping small business owners focus on the business while we take care of their marketing. If we have esteemed partners in the room and not in the room, whom we are appearing on an RFP as one of their subcontractors or service providers, and we're also including ourselves as a lead, is that to our detriment? Or should we put ourselves in as an RFP for ourselves lead, or should we also include ourselves with other partners who may have other disciplines?
And I don't take wants to take this, but this is my pet peeve. I actually had a meeting 2 days ago with an attorney at the Gibbons Law Firm about this very issue. We need to partner for access and opportunity. It came up earlier, Kate mentioned it, others have mentioned it. If you can't do the job, you certainly need to partner. We've got to start partnering with smaller firms in order to increase capacity, generate more revenue. So again, Kate has said it, everyone up here has said it. Look at the the job. If it's too large for you, solo, then you're going to subcontract or be a subcontractor. That's very important information. I want to actually take just a little break. Hold on to that for a second because I want our president to come up and speak to you before you leave. And I want you to network among one another. That's critical too. Brittany Timberlake, President, Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders.
Thank you. Give Deborah Collins a hand. Deborah's been working very hard and very long to make sure that we have programs in place that help build our small businesses that are out there. And I've come to quite a few of these even before I was a freeholder, but I'll be honest, Deborah, this is my favorite one. I really got a lot out of it even myself. So my name is President Brittany Timberlake. I am President of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders. I saw some of my freeholder colleagues here earlier. Freeholder Libby Jones was here as well as freeholder Patricia Siebel. And I will tell you that when I came on, when I was campaigning, if you saw me while I was campaigning, I told everyone, my interest is in developing small businesses, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, local-owned businesses. So raise your hand if you're from Essex County, if your business is within Essex County. Raise your hand if your business is around Essex County, within the surrounding borders. Okay? Raise your hand if you're a woman. Raise your hand if you're a minority, if you classify as a minority. So do you see how did everybody have their hand up at least one time? Yes. Okay? Despite, ethnicity, despite, location. We are very much so interested in developing you. Okay? And the RFP guide that you saw, it's under construction. And you will receive a notification. We've been having meetings with this department because we want to make sure that we give more points in all of those categories that you just raised your hand for. Okay? So across the board, everybody will receive more points in a category. All right? And also, we're working on, and this is an initiative, this is something that's in process and in progress, and I speak about what it is that I'm working on. A lot of people don't understand what a freeholder is, but after you hear about this, then hopefully you'll have an understanding of what we are and what we can do and what the power yields. We're working on figuring out how to leverage our banking power. We have over $700 million that we have with banks scattered about. And we understand, okay, our county executive had authorized a disparity study years ago. And he was one of the only ones that ever did that, to take a look and see where the holes are in helping you. Okay? And one of the things that came back as an outside indicator was the credit market. And sometimes it's difficult to leverage those funds, being in any of those categories that you just raised your hand for. And coming from the nonprofit sector, where we have to think very creative about how to stretch a dollar, okay, I know something about leveraging banking power. What does that mean? If somebody gives me a $30,000 grant, I'm going to take it and divide it up between 3 banks, then go to one bank and say, hey, I need a grant. Well, they're going to say, well, do you bank with us? Yes, I do. Then I go to the other bank. Hey, I need a grant. Do you bank with us? Yes, I do. That's how you leverage your banking power, right? So taking that practical approach and bringing it to the county, we've been having executive meetings as recently as last week with one of the banking partners, and hopefully, our hope is, please don't come up to me after this and say, oh, give me information about that program. It doesn't exist yet. Again, what am I doing? I'm just telling you what we're working on and what is the desire what the desire is, okay? And we're talking with the banks about hopefully you will be able, if you needed a bridge loan, to walk into that bank if you win an award or RFP or whatever it is, okay? That you'll be able to leverage that banking power and say, I'm with this program, I'm doing business with the county, loan to me, okay? That's what we are working on, all right? That's the direction in which we're moving. And Deborah Collins is our LeBron James. I'm in a state of basketball. I'm going to watch the game. You know, she's really been carrying the team. And anybody that just watched the season that just ended, you know, LeBron was carrying the whole team. You know, and now there was always, you know, and you you have a fantastic team that has been helping you, but there's an additional player now, and we're going to, win the championship for you, and make sure that you have all of the pieces and all of the components, because we're working very creative and thinking about how to do that, okay? Because this is what I always say: if you are successful, Essex County is successful. The unemployment rate will go down. The economy will be jolted, okay? And that's what I call my initiative, which is called my grassroots economic development. Okay? Some think economic development is strictly building train stations and infrastructure. That's economic development too, sure. But I see economic development as developing you economically. Okay? And that's my grassroots economic development initiative. I also have a macro initiative that we're working together collectively as a freeholder board, which will hopefully bring jobs here to Essex County. But so thank you so much. If anybody wants to give me your card, I can send you information about our progress. I always send out progress reports about where we're at, and hopefully if the program is able to come to fruition, which is looking pretty good right now, then you'll know about it whenever it is in existence. And of course, you would definitely find out about it through Deborah Collins, aka LeBron. All right, thank you.
Madam President, you honor me. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask our panelists to give us just a closing statement that constitutes a tip, something they want you to remember, because I want you to have time to circulate among yourselves before they kick us out at around noon. So let's end with a tip. Our closing remark, Kate Harvey.
I'll just repeat some things that I've heard repeatedly. Read and ask questions. I mean, that is the best way to get to know your client and to be successful in submitting a proposal.
Okay, Barbara.
Do what you do best. Don't try to be a different business than who you are. Stay true, stay focused, and stay passionate.
Lauren?
I would say make sure you read, and something I didn't get to say before is don't lie. Because I was reviewing some proposals, somebody had a company, turns out I know some of the people that work at the company. The information you put, I know you didn't get that degree because we're still in class together. So you never know who's reviewing proposals and you don't know who's going to call. So read and don't lie. About anything.
Goldman Sachs seminar?
Yes.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks for coming.
You had mentioned that at the very first class. Coming back to that. Late this afternoon, I'm actually going to do another meeting here.